With Summer League now wrapped for the Chicago Bulls, I want to get into some of my biggest takeaways overall from the Summer League period for the Chicago Bulls, as well as Ayo Dosunmu ranks at number 2 on Bleacher Report's list of most underrated NBA players. All that plus the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So, I want to get into my takeaways from Summer League, just kind of brief overview thoughts, especially between now and training camp and some of the players that we got to look at. Of course, the three main players that we've kind of been focusing at on this time. And the first, we got to start off with modest Buzelis. Like, just simple fact is that his potential is real. Now, he has things that he definitely needs to work on, right? And we'll start with the negatives just so we can end on the positive. He has to really work on that efficiency. 33.7% shooting overall from the field, 21.4% from three-point range. He needs to work on that efficiency. Now, I do think that will happen over time. He may not even be the most efficient player when it comes down to it in his rookie year, and that still would be fine as well. It's just that growth and development, how does he get better week to week, month to month, right? And that is something he did in his G League season last year with the Igniters. He got better every single month. And so, I expect that to get much better from Modest. So not really harping on it too much, but it is something that does stick out, is that inefficiency shooting-wise, even though he had games with putting up some really big numbers, he never really had a truly efficient night overall from the field throughout the Summer League. And that's cool, right? That Summer League is not necessarily for it. I know I've disagreed with a lot of people. I don't look at Summer League being hugely important to development. Summer League is basically go out there, get some reps, work in the NBA system so the coaches can see how you're grasping the type of concepts and things at the NBA, as well as looking at your skill. But they really won't start on the progression, development pieces until he starts getting with Peter Patton, starts getting into NBA training camp. That's much more important for a rookie's development than Summer League, but it is something that kind of sticks out that we do want to see him improve on. It's just becoming a better, a more efficient overall a shooter as well in that time, especially considering how his athleticism, that quick first step, and his dribble is going to help him get to the rim, get a little bit more efficient, right? So that's something you want to take a look at. The 21% from three-point range, we already knew his three-point shooting was one of the things he definitely needs to work on, and so that was kind of maximizing that as well as work on his strength. But outside of those negatives, defensively, I know his on-ball defense, the one-on-one defense is going to be something that could be a struggle for him right away. But his instincts defensively were amazing. Like, the timing on not just the blocks, right, which are already a great part of it, but also the timing on the steals and understand where and when to use his length to poke the ball out and get a steal. Also, how he's going to help create other extra opportunities for the team, both defensively and offensively, with his rebounding and how he could really push the fast break as well. So I think that's a lot to it. Him switching on to smaller players as well is going to be a big part of his game, because while he's learning to guard those bigger players, his ability to switch and stay with the smaller players on the perimeter, that's going to be a weapon as well for this Chicago Bulls defense potentially. So I like that as well. He said that he wanted to be a two-way force in this league and wanted to be a two-way player. And right now, you're starting to see the progression of that. He blocked 10 shots over 5 games. So those instincts are there. So overall, Buzelis has shown us a lot of the potential that got him picked at number 11 for the Chicago Bulls and why people projected him to go in the top 5. Now it's the refinement of those skills, and that's going to be something to look out for over the preseason, things like that, hearing how, in practices going up against NBA players and that type of thing is going to be big for him as well in that Summer League. But Buzelis, the potential is real in Buzelis, and that's one of my key takeaways. Next up, Julian Phillips will compete for a role this season. When you look at the things that he does well, he cuts well. He gets offensive rebounds really well on top of that. He guards multiple positions defensively. I can see Julian Phillips being a player that guards 3 to 4 positions at times. And he's gotten stronger, even though he still looks kind of wiry. You can tell he's gotten stronger as well. He dribbles too much at times, but that's something that with a point guard, you're not going to really worry about that too much. but his three-point shot looks much improved. He looks more confident from that three-point shot. He's getting it off quicker. On top of that, Phillip took good shots, and that's something that you don't always see from players that are young as Julian Phillips and kind of working on things. He picked his spots really well, but how he used his energy, especially, and I said this on last night, for a team that lost Alex Caruso, that doesn't have Javonte Green, having that energy, guy, something that you can kind of overlook at times, but Julian Phillips he's going to compete for a role. I'm not going to say what that role is going to be, how many minutes, if he wins, but he will compete for a position. When you look at his averages, 13.8 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, 2.5 steals as well, shooting 36% from the field. From three-point range. Julian Phillips, he showed quite a bit of development in the areas that we want him to. The question is, how much can he bring to that at the NBA level? And then is he going to stay focused, stay healthy, things like that? But overall, really feel good about the way that Julian Phillips competed in this summer league overall. And I think the Bulls, he's going to compete for a position. And we'll see what that role ends up being next season. And then next up, Adama Sanogo. And this is going to be the thing that I keep echoing with Adama. He's too good for summer league and too good for G League. 15 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, 1 block per game, almost a steal per game, shooting over 60% from the field as well in the 4 games that he played in G League. Adama Sanogo continues to just show he's too good for that level of competition. And the question still remains for Adama is he good enough to give NBA minutes, right? Not to say starter, not even to say your first center off the bench, but is he good enough to give you some quality minutes at the NBA level? That's going to be the continued question, and that's a good question to have, right? You got him on a 2-way contract, so clearly he wants to be here. The Bulls want him there. They want to continue to look at that development. I know we brought in Jalen Smith. If the Bulls are able to move Vooch, you never know. We could see Adama on the roster before the end of the season. Maybe it's a next season thing, but Adama Sanogo just continues to show that he, to me, deserves an overall spot on the NBA roster eventually and to get a shot to see what he can bring there. And on a 2-way contract, you can still play a little over 60 games, I think, next year on an actual NBA team. So let's hope that Adama continues that development. But when you look at his timing on block shots, how he gets rebounds, how fiercely he goes after rebounds, and how he likes to bang in the paint, and that's something that you don't see as much of that anymore in the NBA. And so having somebody who can bring some of that while also being a player who didn't look bad in transition. I like a lot of what Adama Sanogo could bring potentially. We just got to see if it could be at that NBA level and how the Bulls look at him in training camp. And overall, like you're starting to see as well, if the way that the Bulls kind of try to play in Summer League is any signs to point to how their system may look next season, they're going to be a team that does try to get up faster. They're going to be a team that does try to get more opportunities in that fast break and moves the ball around a little bit more. So the youth movement is real. Outside of that, negative takeaways. Henry Drell, Marcus Domask, and Andrew Funk. I'm not high on any of these guys. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. Not on any of them on 2-way contracts. Honestly, this summer league has made me feel worse about Henry Drell than what I felt last season. I felt pretty confident about Henry Drell's ability to round out as a shooter and things. This terrible summer league for him. Andrew Funk was a complete non-factor. Domask, he had a shot in the last game, was a complete non-factor as well. DJ Stewart looks like a player that could and should probably get an opportunity at a 2-way contract. With the Bulls, you never know if that's actually going to be the Chicago Bulls, but he's shown that ability as well. So, overall, that's kind of my thoughts coming out of Summer League. A good Summer League period for the players that I was going into looking the most at. I think that you may have gotten your next point guard of the Windy City Bulls with DJ Stewart, and we'll just see how those things rank out. Now, before we get into the mailbag, I want to talk about this. Bleacher Report put together an article on the most underrated players in the NBA right now. And Ayo Dosunmu ranked number 2 on that list. We'll get to talking about why in a second. I feel like to give the form of reference, it's good to talk about the list overall. So Aaron Wiggins with the OKC Thunder came in at number 1. Ayo Dosunmu came in at number 2, which we'll talk about more in depth. Najee Marshall with the Dallas Mavericks came in at number 3. And then you got Simone Fontecchio, I believe is how you pronounce it, with the Detroit Pistons at number 4. The guy actually can't ball, so I can understand that. And then at number 5, you got Santi Aldama with the Memphis Grizzlies. So a lot of names there to look out for if you're going into next season. Not going to get too in the weeds of that because I want to kind of focus on the Bulls here, right? And Adama Sanogo, when you look at things that they pointed out for Adama Sanogo, mainly defensively, they pointed out players that there were 4 players last season that split at least 20% of their defensive possessions guarding 1, 2s, and 3s. And that is Malik Beasley, Mikal Bridges, Jaylen Brown, and Jaden McDaniels. And Ayo Dosunmu was right there for them, playing much better with over 2,000 minutes guarding those guys. And so that they really look at the defensive potential of Ayo Dosunmu and how now he's going to be at the lead guard. They also look at how Ayo Dosunmu as a secondary or primary ball handler and play initiator is something that he grew exponentially in last season, and talked about his passing through the lanes and things like that. And if you watch something with the Chicago Bulls, you know in the fast break, Ayo Dosunmu was probably one of our most dangerous weapons to finish or to pass. But the thing that I love that they pointed out here is to say that he's too differential, meaning that he defers to players too much. And that is something that I think, and why I wanted to talk about this, is that we won't see as much from Ayo Dosunmu next season. He is going to be the lead guard off the bench for the Chicago Bulls. And even if Lonzo Ball comes back, I hope that we don't see an Ayo Dosunmu that defers to other players, because Ayo's shown it. He grew in exponentially in every way offensively when you look at the over 40% shooting from 3, the highest point per game total that he's had in his career, both overall and as a starter. He killed it last year as well. Ayo Dosunmu is moving into a place where he's going to be a little bit more prioritized for this team. And so, you know, he's playing really well. So when you look at his 3-point volume as well, 4.8 attempts per 36 minutes, that was a career high for him, and that seems to be going up some as well. Ayo Dosunmu's stock is on the rise, and I, for one, just think it's good that an outlet is putting him at number 2 as far as most underrated players in the NBA. We'll see how that continues to go for him. But with that said, it is Sunday, so it is Mailbag Day. Let's go ahead and get into the voicemails. This one's from Ice.
What's going on, Haize? It's Ayo again. You know what I'm saying? I support you, my boy. But I was just calling in to see. I know you tired of that ball-headed hoe. You know what I'm saying? So I know yesterday I was talking about I didn't want to see no all-guard team, but what if we got rid of the ball-headed hoe? Do we waive him, bottom out, whatever the fuck we got to do? And then we sign DJ Stewart. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you was right about us making a mistake of getting rid of the Javon Freeman Liberty. So to make it up, let's sign this dude. You know what I'm saying? Because he play defense and he can score, shoot, and he make passes. I don't see why not. So yeah, I'm with you on that. You made a valid point yesterday. All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. See red if you can.
Getting rid of Javon Carter to sign DJ Stewart, so that's not going to happen. It has a guaranteed contract. Even in a buyout, you're going to have to give that up. The player kind of dictates because how much they're willing to take in a buyout. Javon Carter has no reason to give up any money in a buyout, so I don't think you're going to see getting rid of the ball-headed hoe for DJ Stewart. Now, what I will say is that DJ Stewart has shown that he deserves a 2-way contract, at a very minimum, a G League deal for the Windy City Bulls next season. When you look at his performance, 17.4 points per game, 47% shooting from the field, 40% shooting from 3, and 6.4 assists per game. That's a guy I want to see on the Windy City Bulls, to see how you can grow, how you can develop him. I'm not ready to say you just throw him right into the NBA minutes or anything like that, but 2-way contract I wouldn't be mad at if you end up just signing him as a G League contract. If no other team offers him a 2-way, I'm not going to be mad at DJ Stewart being around. When you go to trying to uncover guys, that's the type of guy that you want to go after. So he showed everything that he could show. And, you know, I think that he may even be a better passer. I think he was a little bit more selfish because of trying to earn a spot. But let's see what he has when he gets a deal. DJ Stewart, wouldn't be mad at all if he ends up on the Windy City Bulls next season. Great voicemail there. It's just not feasible or realistic to get rid of Javon Carter for DJ Stewart. It's just not. And even then, he wouldn't really get a lot of minutes. He'd still be pretty far down the depth chart. So I want to kind of see what DJ Stewart does with more minutes. That's why I wouldn't be mad seeing him in the G League, just to add a little bit more, more color to that. All right, but let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from my brother Corn.
Hey, what it don't do, King Drip. It's your brother Corn. Let's get right into it, man. Let's have this conversation, y'all. It's gonna be a tough one. It's about Coby White. All right, right. It's about trading Coby White. Now, fans is gonna be split, right, between this. I believe. Which side Corn stands on? Which side do I stand on? You know, I'm on the stand of keep Coby. I am 75% keep Coby. I am 25% trade Coby right now. The deal has to be really sweet for us, for me to feel comfortable. I don't know. I would feel like if they give us, now I would think this, if they give us an outright, unprotected 2025 first round pick and it's top 10, just because of the San Antonio pick, I don't know. It's hard to really think about that, man. Because if you think about it, if we do, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate right now for the people that want to trade Coby, okay? And I understand their point of wanting to trade Coby. I can't believe this is actually a conversation, and I blame this on Zach, but that's another conversation. Now, with Coby, if we trade him and they say, we do get a first round pick, 2025, unprotected top 10. And then we get that first pick from San Antonio that's protected, but, we end up losing a lot. Now we don't have Coby and we pretty much take it at that point, right? We will have 2 first round picks in the year 2025. That's the intriguing part. That's the intriguing part. But I love Coby, and I think Coby is going to take another huge step to really shut all this trade talk up. All right, King Drip. Love you. All right, see Red Nation. Hey, man, shout out to Katie, man. I want to say that. Shout out to Katie down there in the shout out. Blessings.
The concept of trading Coby is one that I didn't know what I was stirring up when I made that video, but I'm glad that it has gotten a lot of conversation going from Bulls fans. I mean, theoretically, in what you laid out here. If somebody offers you a top 10 unprotected pick for Coby White in the 2025 draft, yeah, you probably take that deal. And I love Coby. But with the talent that's in that, you may have to take that risk. Now, I don't think that that's going to happen, and I don't think that's a deal that you're going to get offered at all for Coby White. So I don't know if we're talking about realistic packages for Coby White. Like I said, if you're in a situation where you need to move up to get your Cooper Flag or your Ace Bailey, and you include Coby for that, I won't be mad at it. I still would have some question marks, right? But overall, it's more so just against the thought of you just got to move Coby because he's not a star. It's not a thought process between that he's untouchable. I think that some people have now taken what I said there and tried to make it seem like, oh, you're saying Kobe's untouchable? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that you don't just get rid of him because he's not a quote-unquote star-level player to a lot of people. That's the thing that's the focus on there. Anybody can get got for the right deal. That's just what it is in the reality. That's how I look at basketball in general. If there's always a right deal. Now, that doesn't mean that the right deal is realistic or coming, but there's always the right deal. And I just think for when it comes to Coby, I just don't, and Ayo, I don't like the conversation I don't agree with the conversation because it doesn't matter if I like it or not. I don't agree with the conversation of let's just move on from Coby or Ayo because I don't think they're going to be star or superstars. That's just not a mindset I personally agree with. But great voicemail. Very well thought out there, Corn. Let's get into this next one. This one's from Vaughn.
What's up, Haize? So I wanted to talk about I want to talk about a couple of things. First thing I want to start off with is Montas Vucevic and his summer league. The stuff I've seen from him are very encouraging to me. And I feel like he showed a lot of things that you want to see out of a young player. The attitude, the way he would get his buckets, his handles are way better than I thought they would be. And honestly, I'm very high on him right now. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I'm not going to give my true opinion because I feel like it might be too early, but just to make things, short and sweet, I'm super excited to see what he can bring to this team and for the future. The next thing I want to talk about is how some fans seem to change the narrative on guard pack. I see a lot of people go back and they compare this regimen to guard pack, and they try to say, sometimes guard pack might be better in a way. And I don't know, but maybe I was younger at the time. But from what I remember from guard pack, that shit was terrible, bro. Like, I mean, it was absolutely terrible. Like, outside of the D Rose years where they got lucky and drafted Derrick Rose, I didn't enjoy none of that shit. Like, all the years after that, them trying to ride the wave and getting Dwayne Wade, Rondo, Butler, that shit didn't match up. I mean, even the way they traded Derrick Rose, the way that was handled, I didn't enjoy any of that. So, also, the biggest thing that kind of pissed me off is how they would draft players And either these players will be absolute complete bust out of the league today, market speed, shit like that. When we traded for Cameron Payne, he didn't really give us nothing until he left. There's been so many players that have gotten here under their regimen who were saying that they fell out of love with basketball or that they weren't focused enough. Like, that, to me, goes back to the culture that was here at the time, which was basically no culture. The culture left with Joakim Noah. So what they had after that, it was no culture. These players would come here like Laurie Marketing, have a good year. Then they hire someone like Jim Boylan, and he's just, he's down now. Now he's questioning if he even loved the game of basketball. People like Daniel Gafford say he wasn't focused when he was here because he didn't have no good vets around him. I mean, he had Dwayne Wade here trying to get a bag. I mean, like, none of that was even, there was nothing building here. So I don't know how people remember the Garpax era fondly outside of the D-Rose era. And that was just luck, in my opinion, because they didn't even build around him as well as I thought they could have. So, in terms of like the shooting guard position and stuff like that. So I just need people to take a step back and let's give AK and Mark, some time to build this team.
Listen, the excitement over Miles Buzelis is real, and it should be. And I think that he's done everything in his power to prove that, and he's going to continue to do that, and let's see how the kid develops. I want to focus on the latter half of your voicemail here. Garpax not being as good as what some people say, like, and I give it more than just getting lucky with Derrick Rose, right? But that was John Paxson, that wasn't Gar Forman. See that, and that's maybe where the difference comes in with me. I separate the John Paxson as the GM time from the John Paxson as the president and Gar Paxson as the Gar Forman as the GM of the Chicago Bulls. It's very different times. When you look at Paxson when he was the GM, the Bulls did make a series of really great draft moves, drafting Kirk, drafting Ben, drafting Luau. I think Gar may have been there when we drafted Taj, but either way, that building that team, putting the right pieces, putting the right veterans on that team besides the Ben Gordon trade. And it's not that Paxson didn't make mistakes. It's just that he made so many right moves that, like the Tyrus Thomas deal, didn't hurt us long term, right? It just didn't, right? Having Jamal Crawford here, like Paxson made a lot of good moves, and I do think that he spent time building a team organically. Now, the Gar Forman time, that was a different time, and I do think that some Bulls fans romanticize it. Like I said, Jabari Parker, Dwayne Wade, right? There was a lot of Marquise Teague. There were a lot of Doug McDermott just didn't work out for the Chicago Bulls and what we gave up for him. It didn't work out. There's no way around it. It didn't work out. I think the players that got with the 2 picks that the Bulls gave up ended up having better careers than Doug McDermott. So it's not that they did everything perfect, because they didn't. I think that they had that built in kind of because there was a transition from Paxson as the GM to Gar Forman as the GM, that he got some of that rub, wrestling terms, shout out to my wrestling fans, from the memories of that time. And there was a lot of mistakes made over that Gar Forman time. Now, it wasn't all mistakes either. The Jimmy Butler draft ended up being a great one for the Bulls. They just didn't know how to build around him. So, AK and Eversley get some time. And like I said on, I think, yesterday's episode, if it's flipped to where they started off with their struggles and maybe now they get to, over the next handful of years, building organically and making the right moves, that's the most important thing. And let's hope that they can do that. I think that they have the opportunity. Let's just see if it comes across. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Jamal.
What's up, hey? This is your boy Jamal back again. Another voicemail for you. 3 minutes to get into it. Just got done watching your first Mailbag video. As always, much love to you and your team for the content and work that y'all do. That being said, had interesting thought to Wayne pass on mine. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. But I find it real interesting. I haven't seen too much traction when it comes to Nikola Vucevic trade talks. Like, of course, there have been, things about, what the Bulls might do with Nikola Vucevic and this, that, and the other. But as far as, like, I guess I'm trying to compare it to, like, a DeMar DeRozan or a Zach LaVine, where, when it came to DeMar and Zach, it was almost like every other day or every other week, there was some type of rumor, about what team might be interested in playing, picking these people up or, trading for Zach, trading for DeMar. Obviously, we know how it went with Zach with the whole situation, currently as it's going right now with Zach, having a hard time finding somebody to take his contract and take him off our hands. But you still hear the rumors about it. You still have people doing think pieces and, and making blogs and vlogs about it. I don't see that with Nikola Vucevic as much. And it just begs question, it's like, here, this guy he's a, walking double-double, can get you 20 and 10 easily on a good day, very easily and things like that. not the best defender. He's pretty much a negative on defense. But, you know, in this league, as long as you're tall, I'm pretty sure he could provide some type of win protection to some team out there. I really thought there'd be more people who'd be interested in a guy like Nikola Vucevic, especially like you said, the whole idea of him being able to pass the ball, especially out of double teams inside the post. You know, you would think there'd be a lot more traction for him, and there doesn't seem to be that much. So I was just kind of wondering, what is your takes on that? Why do you think that is? Do you think that there's a lot of teams that aren't interested in Nikola Vucevic's services, or they think the trade, what the Bulls might want for him is too high? But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I was kind of wondering, why haven't we heard too much traction? At least me personally. Maybe I'm wrong, but why haven't we heard too much talk about teams being and possibly interested in Nikola Vucevic? Let me know what you think. As always, see where it go, Bulls, and peace out.
I think the Vooch thing comes down to, I think that the Bulls are exploring Vooch deals. I don't think they're necessarily shopping Vooch as hard as they were, for example, a Zach LaVine. I think they're trying to see what that market would be for Nikola Vucevic. But I don't think they're just like by any means necessary trying to move Vooch. And I think that's why you're seeing it be a little bit more quiet in that time period. I wouldn't be surprised if Vooch is moved by the trade deadline. I think that he's the type of player that teams do add at the trade deadline. Not a bad contract at the $20 million with the modern NBA. A player that can go out there and get you a double-double. And that at that point, if you're making a trade deadline move, you kind of know exactly what you're trying to add to your team. So maybe they already feel confident in the defense they can have around Vooch, and they need that double-double machine. So I'm not too surprised that it's a little bit quieter around Vooch, just because my personal thinking is they're exploring, but not necessarily shopping him extremely hard. They're doing some fillers out to see what that deal could look like. I don't think they're just we're trying to move Vooch tomorrow. I think that's the difference in that. But great thought process, great voicemail as always there, Jamal. All right, let's get into this last voicemail. This one's from Ian.
Hey, Haize. It's Ian from Joliet. Enjoying Bulls Summer League. It's nice to see that Buzelis looks like a player who can become something. But my main point is the recent information that the Bulls are not going to do everything that they can to be in the top 10. I think this is a mistake. I think here in Chicago, we see how well being really bad has worked. We saw it with the Cubs in 2016. We saw it with the Blackhawks during their 3 championships. And even now, the reason why we're so excited for the Chicago Bears is because they got real bad, and now they have somebody who's real good. Now, I don't think we should just sell off Ayo or Coby to get off of Zach's contract, to get off of Lonzo's contract, to just because. Because I think that those are the kind of pieces that when we are good, they're good role players, or if a disgruntled star becomes available sometime in the future, those are the kind of players that people would like to trade for. But my concern is that when you look deeper into some of the analytics, most of your really good players are in the top 10. I took this past year's leaders in PER. 13 of the top 30 were top 5 picks. So that's almost half were all in the top 5. If you go to the top 10, it's over half of them. Now, it's close. It's 16 players in the top 10, 14 players for the rest of the first round and all of the second round, and I need someone to make it make sense. Because the history of Chicago, the way the analytics break down, all say that the Bulls should try to be in the top 10. If it means sitting Vooch a little bit, fine. If it means sitting Zach a little bit, fine. Now, if all the young guys just play out of their minds and are playing real well, that's something different. But if Zach and Vooch are playing well and somehow we're still just middling along at around the play-in, I don't see how that helps us. I'd love to know your thoughts. Thanks. Bye.
And Ian, listen, here's what I'll say, is that I think you also have to look at how did players get there? How did the teams get that top 10 pick, right? And so what the Bulls are basically saying is that we're not tanking, because tanking generally doesn't work. And they're doing kind of what you said at the end of your voicemail. If the young guys step up and they end up missing out on the top 10 pick, they feel confident because it's by the nature of the young guys. And I know you said, well, Vooch and Zach are still here, and I get that, but it's no mistake to be made that the young guys are going to be definitely prioritized in this offense, and they're looking to see that next step that comes from a Giddey, from a Coby White, from an Ayo Dosunmu. So I think that that's the thing. Now, also, I don't think on paper that this team is going to win a whole lot of games. So they're basically, what I took that as hearing from the Bulls is that they're not trying to lose. They're not trying to build a losing culture. They're going to fight. They're going to compete. They're going to try to build winning habits and teach these young players how to win. And if they accomplish that or whatnot, then cool. They're okay with the end result of that. And probably, more than likely, they're probably going to still end up in the top 10. That's my thought process on it. But I think that's what they're doing. I understand what you're saying there. But even if you look at like the last few finals MVPs, not all of them come in the top 10, right? I get it. You want to look at PER, and you can look at a lot of different numbers, but not everyone ends up being in the top 10. Now, that does give you the best chance, and especially in a draft like next year's draft, you want to try to get that. But I think that I don't think the Bulls, whether they're trying to or not, are going to have much problem getting there. That's my personal opinion, but we'll see how it turns out this season. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That's thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.